Will Matthew Butler make the Raiders' 53-man roster? Let me know down in the comments section with a yes or no. I'm going to give you my answer coming up right now. Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and I'm going to give you your answer around Matthew Butler making this team, yes or no. But I got to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Panda Subs. They have helped me lose 10, maybe even 15 pounds this month, and I think that they can help you out as well. Go to pandasubs.com. Make sure that you use code Raiders for 25% off all of their amazing workout supplements. So coming up here on today's show, I'm going to get into the latest going on around Matthew Butler, who the Raiders went and they drafted last season in round 5 at defensive tackle. And a lot of y'all are probably thinking, wait a minute, why is this even a question? Because the Raiders did draft him last season. He's a Josh McDaniels guy, right? He's the Dave Ziegler guy, right? Well, I've been told by a very good source that you might not want to believe on this guy making this roster. So the latest on Butler is that he is on the outside looking in to make the Raiders 53-man. The reason why this is kind of interesting is because usually when you draft a player the year before with a brand new coaching regime, they're going to be safe for at least 2, maybe 3 years unless it is in a unless it's just really bad, man. So for Butler, he played in 6 games as a rookie. And I didn't really anticipate all too much production from him, but I was a little bit surprised the fact that he didn't get nearly the amount of playing time considering the fact of how bad the Raiders' defensive tackle room was last season. And not only did he not play, he was a healthy scratch in multiple games for the Silver and Black. If the Raiders were to move on from Butler, it would save them $870,000. Is that a lot of money? No, not really. But if you're only going to eat $67K, and if you know that this player is not going to make the roster for you, or if you really want to open it up and allow another player to potentially make the team that has a better chance of impacting your roster, you could go ahead and do that and save the $870K. So before the NFL draft happened, I had a source tell me that the Raiders regret drafting Matthew Butler. I heard that, and anytime you hear anything from a source, a person who you trust, you have to think about what they're saying, and then you store it in the back of your mind. So I was like, okay, they regret drafting Matthew Butler. What else can I do with that? On top of that, before the NFL draft, Matthew Butler, this was the source that told us this, had poor work ethic, and that some players on the Raiders team were bothered by his lack of involvement in trying to better himself and better overall this defense. When you hear things like that, especially in a Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler-led team, like, alarms got to start going off in your head. So we got told by a source that Raiders regret drafting him, bad work ethic, some of the players, and the one player that was mentioned to me was one of the faces of the franchise, and if he's bothered by it, I would imagine that, yes, a lot of other players are bothered by it. So then you look at the Raiders' defensive tackle room, and they went out and they drafted Byron Young. They went out and they drafted Nesta Jade Silvera. I get it. Byron Young in round 3, Silvera in round 7. Maybe nothing to see here. But you got Bilal Nichols, who has connections to Champ Kelly. You re-signed Jerry Tillery this offseason. And then John Jenkins and Adam Butler also have connections to past Patriot, past McDaniels, Ziegler regimes, if you will. And then there's the other guy that they drafted last season, Neil Farrell Jr. But they traded up to get Neil Farrell at 126, so they drafted him a full another round before Matthew Butler. So if somebody out there is a big-time Tennessee Volunteer fan, or if you're a big fan of Matthew Butler, you're like, Mitch, I don't necessarily agree. That's fine. I don't do this show for all y'all to agree. I do this show based on information that I have been given, and over the last few months of what I have seen the Raiders do, I really, truly believe that Matthew Butler is definitely on the outside looking in to make the 53-man roster. So coming up here on the Raiders Report, I'm going to lay out 5 reasons why Butler will get cut and why he will not be on this Raiders team this upcoming season. Before I show you those 5 reasons, not only should you subscribe to the Raiders Report for the latest news and rumors, analysis like I'm breaking down today, insider information, but Chat Sports, we're a company of just dudes being dudes, and we're having a sub battle for the month of June. So I want to show everyone here at Chat Sports, I want to show everybody that Raider Nation is built different, and we have the best YouTube channel around. So essentially, if you're a new subscriber, I want you to spam new sub down in the comments. I want to be able to see all the new subs, and I'm going to take 5 people every single day, all of the new subs, and I'm going to give you a shout out here on the Raiders Report. So Bottled Boys 133, Ice Prods, Tony, Warlord the Great, and then Cubicle Media. Much love to all of y'all. I appreciate the fact that you took a second out of your day to hit that subscribe button. And now you can brag to your friends that you know more about the Raiders than they do. So what's the main focus of today's show? Breaking down the latest around Matthew Butler and how the Raiders aren't 100% sold on him, and then the 5 reasons why they will ultimately end up moving on from him. The first reason, he's on the coach's bad side. If it's year 1 and you're already on your coach's bad side, that's never a good thing. Not only are you on your coach's bad side, but you're on the bad side of one of your team captains. Like, that's not a good sign. So, like we mentioned, before the draft, the Raiders already regret drafting him. And then you got the poor work ethic. You add both of those things together. Yes, you're going into year 2, and I always like to give a player more than his rookie year because the curve, the transition from going to college to the NFL, I get it. He's from the SEC. It should be a little bit easier for him. It's not an easy thing no matter what. Was he a successful player at the Senior Bowl? Yes, that's actually one of the reasons why I think the Raiders drafted him in 2022. But bad work ethic and the Raiders regret drafting him, that's the first reason. Let's go to the second reason here. The Raiders added 2 defensive tackles in the draft. You can do all this you want, right? A source can talk his mouth off. You can hear this, you can hear that. But actions speak louder than words, and the Raiders showed you some of their actions. Did they have 12 picks entering the draft? Yes, they did. But they ended up making trades, and they only had 9. And then they still took 2 defensive tackles, even though, don't get me wrong, I wanted them to take a defensive tackle. There were still other needs, though, that they could have addressed. They went with Byron Young in the 3rd round. I'm telling you all this right now. Byron Young, much better than what Matthew Butler is. And then, sleeper alert, Nesta Jade Silvera, who they ended up taking in the 7th round. But the thing with Nesta Jade is he has some previous connections with Raiders coaching staff. He's played with Miami. He's played with Arizona State. The Raiders like Nesta Jade a lot coming out of college. And if I'm Matthew Butler, I'm a little bit worried about the Raiders drafting those 2 players. We got more reasons coming up here why the Raiders are going to move on from Butler. But guess what? Today's show is presented by Panda Subs. And if you haven't already, I want you to go try out all of their amazing products. Use code Raiders at 25% off. PandaSubs.com. So I'm actually excited because Panda's been a sponsor here for 2 years, and anytime they drop a new product, I want to be able to tell you about them. So Panda's got their all-new Panda BCAA plus EAA plus hydration formula, which was designed to give you endurance during your workouts and help your recovery. How many times are you working out and you just get hit with that, like, man, I am absolutely exhausted? Well, when you take some BCAAs, it not only helps you during your workout, it's also going to help you with your recovery. Also, they got 4 flavors, and if anybody's ever tried anything from Panda, their workout supplements are the best tasting workout supplements that I have ever had. You got Melon Crusher, Peach Mango, Mama's Pink Lemonade, Strawberry Watermelon. You mix any of that up with some water on a hot summer day, it's actually refreshing. Sometimes when I wake up after having a few drinks on the Raiders Report and I'm a little bit hungover, you mix up some of that at 4 o'clock in the morning, and it might be the greatest thing that I've ever consumed. All you got to do is mix 1 scoop of BCAAs and EAA hydration with 8 to 16 ounces, of water. Vary the liquid amount to adjust the taste. Consume 1 serving during or after your physical activity or throughout the day as a thirst quencher. So what do I do as soon as I get done working out? I take some BCAAs to help build my muscles. Also, if I ever feel super dehydrated, it's going to be really hot. I know some of y'all are going to be tailgating and drinking during the Raiders regular season. Guess what? make sure you pack some Panda Subs, and I can hook you up with an awesome code. 25% off, code Raiders at pandasubs.com. And you know what? Let's also throw in this as well. The test booster is going to help you feel like you're 19 to 20 years old again. And if somebody's watching is like, well, wait a minute, I'm 18 years old. Well, guess what? It's going to help you build more muscle. Stay hydrated, build more muscle with the test and the BCAs. Let's go to the next reason here why the Raiders will cut Matthew Butler. Cutting a player saves money. If you can save money, then I think that you should do it. If you don't believe that this player can make an impact for you and you didn't think that he could last season, and now you've added more defensive tackles, it's time to cut him and save some money. Is it only $870K? Yes, but I can use that $870K and I can go out and put that towards a potential vet minimum contract for a player that can help me win games this upcoming season. Let's go to the next reason here. He's at the bottom of your depth chart. That's just a cold, hard fact. When I did my 53-man roster projection for this team, I had the Raiders keeping 6 defensive tackles. Last season, they also kept 6. So if you're looking at the screen right now, who are the 2 defensive tackles that you're getting rid of? You're not going to get rid of Bilal Nichols. You're not going to get rid of Byron Young. You're not going to get rid of Jerry Tillery. I mean, are you going to get rid of Nesta Jade Silvera, who you drafted this year? I don't think so. They like Adam Butler. They like John Jenkins. Both of those guys have connections. Well, are you going to decide between Neil Farrell Jr. and Matthew Butler? The possibility of them moving on from Butler is a lot more than what the Raiders might indicate. And I'm just simply here to tell you right now, when it does end up going down, I'm going to be here to say, I told you so. Here's the final reason, and it's the most important. Unfortunately, he's just not a very good player. And he's not a very good player for the Patrick Graham system. The hardest part about doing this job is I am telling a guy who is more talented, more athletic, and a way far superior athlete than I could ever dream of being. But my job is to give you guys the facts. My job is to give you the truth. And in terms of an NFL talent, Matthew Butler just quite ain't there. It's the truth. Watch the field. Watch the tape. Even when he was first coming out of Tennessee, there was a little bit of upside there. There was a little bit of intrigue. But if you're telling me a player that's got a little bit of upside, a little bit of intrigue, has bad work ethic, and if players are concerned about how much he loves football, that's a red flag, and that's a player that I'm sorry, does not deserve to be on this team. So before I leave all of y'all today, there is going to be a hot wing eating contest, me against Jermaine Illuminor at Barcode Burgers in Las Vegas. Saturday, June 10th from noon to 3 p.m. All the proceeds are going to go to charity. You can meet me. You can meet Jeremy Chuggs. You can meet some other Raiders content creators, some other NFL players. There's going to be photos, autographs, all that good stuff. And then afterwards, we're going to hang out and watch the Las Vegas Golden Knights hopefully get a win. And I think it's going to be Game 4 by that time. And maybe, who knows, even raise the Stanley Cup.